What's up, y'all? It's your boy Jabari Warfield. Welcome to the Jazz and Other Vibes podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. Just a minute, we're going to talk to Big Mike Hart, see what's going on with my man. All kinds of good stuff that you can catch on my podcast. Of course, you can find me on KAZI 88.7 FM Wednesday nights, 7 to 10 p.m. Texas time, Central Time. Also, of course, I'm going to put all the socials where you can hear other interviews and podcasts that I have on all the socials. So definitely glad to have y'all along. Also, if you are not in the Austin or Texas area, you can get on the TuneIn app and get the TuneIn app and get that and log on to KAZI 88.7 FM and catch us there. So we'd love to have y'all because we stream all over the world. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. Me and this artist, I found out about him maybe about a year or two ago and went to see him in concert, man, and just absolutely blew me away, blew the audience away. He is Big Mike Hart, and he is joining us, and definitely glad to have him as we get a chance to talk to Big Mike. What's going on, kid? How you doing?
Well, man, I can't complain, brother. Happy to be here. Appreciate you reaching out, man, and extending your platform to me, brother. So, yeah, man, I'm just happy to be here and chop it up with you.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate the time because I know you are a busy man, but scared money don't make money, and you can't make no money sitting on your butt doing absolutely nothing unless you're playing guitar in the studio. Yes, sir. We're going to talk about this joint right here, Modern Classic. This is really good stuff, man. So we're going to get deep into that. Let's talk about where's home for you, bro?
Home is Los Angeles, from Sacramento, but I reside in LA.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sacktown. Yes, sir. Very good. Now, what got you started in music? I mean, I know everybody loves music. What was the catalyst for you wanting to make music?
Well, I come from a very musical family on both sides. On my mother's side, all of my uncles sang, grew up in church, quartet music is my foundation. So being around that, with all my uncles and my grandparents and going to 3 o'clock church programs and watching my family's group sing and all that. And then on my father's side, my father was a DJ, so I grew up in the house with a bunch of LPs everywhere, and turntables, and, the old school speakers. My dad had a serious Pioneer system set up, man, that, I would get in trouble as a kid trying to touch all the knobs. But I was just around music, man, my whole life. And as a kid, I used to call the guitar the Holy Ghost. And my Uncle Jimmy, my mom's brother, is the one who put the guitar in my hands. Because he was a guitar player in the family gospel group. So, just being a kid, man, and being around, I was like Tito. You remember how Tito used to get in trouble, man, for touching Joe's guitar?
Yeah. So, but Tito was the one that set it off.
He was, man. Tito was the one, man. And, I was fortunate enough to, after getting chastised and all that for touching my uncle's guitar, my grandfather is the one who was like, that boy really interested, you know what I mean? And then my uncle took me under his wing, man, and started showing me, and then just hanging around other guys, other hometown legends that, just poured into me, man. And, formal lessons for a short amount of time, but a lot of it, man, was just local heroes, man, that poured into me, man. Terry Jones called him Big T. Got LC, Luna Williams, my big brother Derek Delray Allen, of course, my Uncle Jimmy, Odell Ross. These are just Sacramento heroes, man, of the music scene. Have done great things, man, and just poured back into me and taught me a lot. And I, just took it from there and just kept going and, learning things on my own. But yeah, got a lot of foundational stuff, man, from some amazing guys back home.
About that. Yeah, when I've listened to some of the songs you've sent me, like Open Bar and Penthouse Suite, especially with Open Bar, I can hear I hear I know it's a song about an open bar, but I can hear the church influence, and I can definitely hear the production that's like, it's something about church music that when you hear a good gospel choir and a good music department and coming out of church, something different about the drums, something different about the keys.
Yeah, man.
It's just crazy. So yeah, I can hear the church influence for sure, my brother.
Tell you, man, pretty much all of the musicians that I work with all have gospel roots, some sort of church foundation, man. So, we got what we call the oil. We got a little oil, a little anointing whether it's directly gospel music we're doing or inspirational or jazz or whatever, man, we always gonna have some anointed oil on that. And that's what makes it sound and feel different. There's a different connection and different just vibe, man, that you get. And it just changes, the feel of it, man.
Yeah, it does. Definitely changes the feel of it for
Yeah.
sure. Now, how many instruments do you play? Because I know primarily guitar is what we know you for, but other instruments do you play?
Yeah. Well, I play bass guitar primarily in the studio. Wouldn't call myself a bass player, but a lot of bass players would. But I don't consider myself because there's so many amazing bass players out there. I wouldn't dare throw myself in that category. But I play some good bass on record. I will say that. I know how to write, so it gives me appearance that I'm a great bass player, if you would. I started out as a drummer before guitar, but drums really wasn't my thing. And I'm a drum enthusiast. I love drums. I can hold a solid backbeat, but I'm not a drummer by any shape, form, or fashion. But I can sit on the set and hit the 2 and 4 if I need to. Same with piano and keys. I'm not a keyboard player, but as a producer, I can get a song done. I'm able to create uh a record. You know what I mean? I'm not out here like all these other great players, but I can get in the studio and spell out a chord, have my guitar on my lap, and go note by note till I get the chord right and make a record. But yeah, but just guitar, man, and bass.
That's the one. Very good. Well, and I asked that because when I've listened to Penthouse Suite and Open Bar like on my home computer. And then I've heard them in my car. And it's like the matching up of the drums and just something about the production, man, just like, wow. It's off the chain, dude.
And production, I tell people all the time, I am a producer songwriter first. Like, a lot of people lead with their instrument. I just happen to play guitar well enough to do what I do, but being a songwriter and being a producer, I think come first in my titles because even if I couldn't play a guitar, I know I could still produce a song telling people how to do it, from the production style like a Quincy or somebody like that. You know what I mean? I truly uh view myself as a producer first. And when you compliment the production, it makes me feel good, man, because I work with a lot of great players who assisted me on getting this album done, like on Penthouse and Open Bar. My brother and co-producer on a lot of these records are Brandon Harris. We sit, man, and we write parts. Sometimes you get in the studio and everybody has a different workflow on how they, get from point A to Z, but we're very intentional on writing the right feel. I'll hop on the bass and as I'm writing the chord progression, he'll be right there, alongside my other production partner, Buddy Banks. We sit there, man, and we're like, okay, cool. We want the verse to feel like this. And sometimes I'll hop on the drums and I'll give an idea of kind of what I want, man, because like I'm like a Prince fan and like a Chucky Booker, right? So very hands-on guys, they know what they want to hear. And then you say, okay, hey, here's the idea, here's the groove, whatever. And then you let a real drummer take your idea and really bring it to life. And that's kind of what we do, man. We get in there and everything's not just play what you feel. It's like, no, we got to be intentional between the verse and the pre-chorus and the bridge and the chorus, and we want all these sections to feel like they were meant to happen. Some stuff is organic, and you can never make those moments up. They just happen, and then there's great stuff. But definitely intentional production, man. So when you hear the mix and everything, we don't want you to miss anything from the car to your AirPods to your studio speakers. We want cohesiveness all the way around. So we just try to be excellent.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I actually, I've heard some of you. I went to your website, which is bigmikehart.com, by the way.
Yes, sir.
For those of y'all who don't know, you got to go check it out. All your info's on there, and you got a whole lot of songs on there that you've done. And I'm listening to them, and it sounds like you've got just about every genre covered, especially when it comes to R&B, because R&B has changed, quite a bit
Sure,
from
sure.
back from the '80s on up to now.
Yeah.
Andre Delano, we talked
My
about
big
Love
bro.
Against All Odds. Yeah, we talked
Yes.
about Love Against All Odds. As soon as I mentioned your name, he was like, "Yeah, yeah, Mike is that dude."
Yeah, man. Oh, that's my brother, man. He's amazing musician, writer, man, and he's his catalog and resume is through the roof. But yeah, man, my website, it has everything that I've ever done because when people, try to, check me out or discover me and get an opportunity to visit my site, I want them to see me as a whole, although the smooth jazz side is where the focus is at the moment. One of the things that allow my catalog to be as diverse as it is as producers, my production partner and I, we wanted to just create music and we kind of force ourselves in the artist space only to showcase our production abilities, to show that we're not limited. We can do anything from country down to rap and, R&B and jazz and all that stuff, man. So we wanted to be able to say, hey, here's this style of song, and here's this style of song. So we morphed ourselves into those artist spaces just to showcase our catalog. Fortunate enough, smooth jazz for me just kind of took off and was successful. The R&B stuff I love to do because I really consider myself a songwriter. I'm a big Babyface fan, man, and Rod Timberton and David Foster, man. I mean, just, the forefathers of great records, I pattern myself after, not necessarily their styles, but just the excellence and how great they write. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So that's the foundation right there, man. So I'm happy you got an opportunity to hear all that stuff on the site. Anybody want to hear me sing or check out some R&B songs with me, you can go to bigmikehart.com and listen to that stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, while we talking about great singers and great songs on this release right here, once again, modern classic, you've got one on here with Kenny Lattimore called LNF, Lovers and Friends, and
Yeah.
Son. I loved it. That's like when I was listening to the whole thing. I was listening to after I caught you in Boney James in San Antonio. I listened to the whole thing on the way home. LNF was like that one caught me. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that's tight.
Yeah.
That's tight.
LNF, man. I wanted to have a song, an R&B record on the album. And Kenny is, man, such a great person, man. That's my big brother. When I moved to LA in 2015, at the end of 2015, Kenny was one of the first artists I was able to work with literally at the top of 2016. I became his guitar player, then later became his musical director. And man, it just really developed a great brotherhood and bond. And I wanted to feature him on the album. And I ended up doing the production. It's like, man, this is like feel good R&B. I think it really fit Kenny's vocal style. And he was able to just croon all over it, just so dope. And then me and Brandon, who is the drummer on the album, the majority of the album, Brandon's also amazing lyricist. So he co-wrote that record with me. We sent it over to an artist named Madison out of Dallas, who actually writes and does a lot of work for Kenny. So I did lay the very rough demo vocal of our ideas, sent it off to Madison, and he just, he re-recorded the demo to put it in Kenny's wheelhouse and really, cater the vocal performance to all Kenny's strengths. And man, he sent the demo back and it was just amazing. Kenny heard it, fell in love with it. We went in there and knocked it out. And then we kept some of Madison's backgrounds and then called my homegirl, El Nicole, who came in and put the female vocal on it. Cause I wanted, it was like 99% there once we got done with Kenny. But I was like, man, we just need a cherry on top. And I thought about all of the classic R&B records that you would hear. And then every now and then you heard this really sweet female vocal in the backgrounds. And I was like, man, you don't hear that style that often anymore
No,
in
you're right.
R&B songs where there's some female vocal backgrounds on a male song. And I was like, man, how great would it be to, pull from some of that classic vocal production styles of records that we love, that have stood the test of time. And it proved me right. Proved
Exactly.
me right, man.
That's
Yeah.
the title modern classic, which I think fits the ideology of what you were trying to do.
Sure. Sure. That was the thing, man. I feel like at this point, smooth jazz is about 30 years old or so, maybe a hair longer, where I wanted to, I guess, take what I would call a classic genre at this point and put a modern spin because, uh, I'm still young. I'm getting older, but I'm still in my 30s, so I consider myself a young man, young adult, if you will, and I still like challenging genres and pushing the envelope. So, I said, how could I ruffle feathers without disrupting, people's palate? Sometimes they don't know that they want a little spice until they get it. And so I'm like, the album to me, I think serves everybody who likes contemporary jazz as is. But I also feel like the production and the arrangements of some of these songs almost give you live performance energy. 'Cause, sometimes you go to a concert and your favorite song is spruced up because now you got a live band and they put, some dips and stuff in there where it's just a little different and you got a little more excitement. So I need to live. I didn't want to give them what they always had. I said, I'm going to give you something that you're used to eating. But I'm going to put a little garnish on it, something a little
There we go.
different, a little twist on it. And you're like, dang, you didn't even know you liked that. And now you want more of it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, in a world of, regular Coke, I'm going to be the Coke with a twisted line. You know what I'm saying?
There you go. Yes, sir.
And like that twisted line was like, oh man, it's just enough. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was talking with another artist I'm sure you know, named Lamech. And
it's my brother.
yeah, man. Yeah. Well, Lamech and I were talking earlier this year, and he brought up a really interesting question just subject I've been pondering for a while. As the smooth jazz audience gets older and you're trying to bring in new people, you're trying to bring in people that are going to be in their 20s or 30s in 10 years. How do you
Sure.
continue to keep bringing in those folks? Does the sound need to be updated? He felt that it needed to be updated, and quite frankly, I agreed with him because at some point, all music goes into generational updating at some point, maybe.
Yeah, I agree. We have a strong foundation in a genre with a foundation, man, with excellent artists who have paved the way, but are now, older, man. Still touring is still delivering high quality projects and high quality performances. It doesn't eliminate the inevitable of change. There's always going to be a changing of the guards, and I think everything has gatekeepers. That's just an honest assessment, and truthful statement, man. And I just think, to have a seamless flow when transition happens, I think it's important to start implementing the new people now. So their foundation and their fan base grows simultaneously as openers as we transition to headliners when other headliners have moved on or
Right.
passed or, whenever. It's like, don't wait till you got an empty spot and now you got to fill a void. Start filling in the gap and bridge the gap now by giving, the guys that will be the OGs at some point, give them the opportunity now. So there's no lag in the transition space because it's going to happen. You know what I mean? It's not like, I'll just say, hey, before Norman, there was Benson, right? But that opportunity happened. George Benson is in his 80s. Norman, I don't know how old Norman is, but now you have the, Lamechs and the Big Mikes and, all these other people. Another great person, man, my little brother Jordan Love, who's amazing out of Atlanta, amazing guitarist. You got to make way. If we, look at the blues world, right? You have BB King, who was just, you had Albert King and Freddie King, just, all the kings. But imagine if they didn't let Kingfish in. You know what I mean? Kingfish,
It's a good
man,
point. Yeah.
he won a Grammy at 21, but imagine if they didn't let him into the genre of blues because they didn't feel he had enough blues experience or he wasn't ready or they just didn't want to change in the guards. It's like there's so much room for everybody to win that it's almost insane not to give the opportunities Because there's room for everybody on every level, opener to middle to headliner. You know, there's just not the opportunities are just not there as much as I would like to see them. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but I agree, man. We have to empower the next generation and empower the genre and save it, because if it's done wrong, the genre could suffer. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I've
Yeah.
heard from a lot of people, man, I give smooth jazz X amount of time left. And it's like, but it doesn't have to be that way. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to die. Just give other people the opportunities to let it live. So it's for me it's a touchy subject, but I'm in agreement with Lamech. Something has to give.
Yeah, it does. It does, and you're right. It does have to stay. It has to stay fresh. It has to stay here first of all, but it
Yeah.
has to stay fresh. And I know with all these festivals, man, with some of the festivals that are out there, people are still wanting to see it. I mean, you and Boney
Yeah.
James, you guys came through. You came through Austin like almost consecutively because I caught you guys in 2024, and I caught you in San Antonio earlier this year, and I was like, wow. I mean, but you came to the same theater in Austin twice within a year.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
like, it's almost unheard of around here. In
Yeah.
Houston or Dallas, yeah, maybe. But in Austin, it's like, okay, wow, that's pretty amazing. But
Yeah.
you're right. I think you're both right that at some point the genre has to continue, right? Because there's folks out here like myself absolutely love it and it needs to continue.
Yeah.
While we're on the subject of Boney James, how did you guys hook up?
Man, so the drummer, Omari Williams, is a brother and dear friend, man, for many years. I was out on the road touring, still touring with Kenny Lattimore, and I was also subbing in for Randy Boland touring with Kim. And I was in Alabama, and Kenny had a show one day, Kim had a show the next day. And on my way home, I got a call. This was like February 2020, right before the whole world shut down, and got a call. I was referred by Omari. They needed a new guitar player. They had just fired their other guitar player, and he referred me, said I would be dope. Boney, I guess, I did some research, called around, and had some great, heard great things about me. I got the gig. February 2020. My first show was supposed to be like March 16th or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the same day the world shut down,
Wow.
like March 16th, 2020. So I had the gig, but I didn't end up doing my first show until, say, August 2021, when they were just figuring out how to, the rules and regulations with people with the mask and,
Yeah, how to make the
how
world
to
work in the
how
pandemic.
to make the world work during the pandemic. But yeah, man, I had lightly been in the smooth jazz space. I did a gig with Michael Linkton once or twice, Lynn Roundtree, just a few people within that smooth jazz world. Not a lot. And then when I started to tour heavy on the R&B side, is when I got the call and everything kind of changed, man. I've been rolling with Boney now, I guess 5 years if you consider starting in 2020 from
Oh,
getting
really?
done.
Wow.
Yeah. So and then um in 2022 I got the call to go out with Joe Thomas, R&B singer
Mhm.
Joe.
Right.
I'm still doing some remote work with Kim, some arrangements stuff for him, but not on the road. I might have subbed in once or twice, but nothing heavy. But my big brother Derek Allen called me to help do some arrangements with Kim and his band were doing like a Pepsi show or something. Something they were also doing live stream shows during the pandemic and stuff. I was a
Right.
part of that, and I got the call to come in and assist with that. Kim and Joe had the same manager at the time. Joe was getting ready to go out and go on the night tour with Maxwell and Anthony Hamilton. And they asked me to come in and be the musical director for that. So that's when I started to multitask between both gigs, which was difficult because they both have pretty full schedules. Didn't overlap that often, which was good. I was gone a lot because when I wasn't out with Joe, I was out with Boney, and when I wasn't out with Boney, I was out with Joe.
Right.
So I was, I was constantly on the road. But yeah, but now I'm primarily Boney and myself.
And y'all got a record together on the Modern Classic called Cigar Lounge. Boney's on
We
here as
do.
well. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, Cigar Lounge, man. That was my first single release from the album. It went to #1 on the Billboard charts for 3 weeks. So it was my first Billboard entry, first Billboard #1. And because Boney was a feature on it, it credited him at having his 20th Billboard #1 record. And that was a history landmark for the genre because no other artist had that many #1s. I think Gerald Albright is second, but I think he's like 14 or something like that. At that time, yeah, I was 2024.
Dang.
So
That
yeah,
moves, making a move,
yeah,
son. That's what I'm
yeah,
talking
bro.
about. Yes,
Yeah,
sir. Yes,
man.
sir. Okay, so here's a record I have to ask you about because I saw it on your
Okay.
website. It's a record you did with Roger Troutman and Shirley Murdoch. How did that come about? Because I know Roger's been gone since '99.
Right. So Chocolate City is a record that I was working on in 2016. And it's not on any album, it's just a single. And the music was done. I was at a rehearsal, good friend of mine and backline and front house engineer, my boy Gino Henry back in Sacramento. He heard the music. He was like, man, that's funky. And he asked me what the name of it was. I said, oh, it's called Chocolate City. And he was like, man, that Zap record, Chocolate City, man, you should sample that and move it. So maybe that night, that next morning, I went in and I found the record and I just sampled it, just saying Chocolate City into the music that was already there, and reached out to Miss Murdoch on Facebook. She actually hit me back, gave me her blessing, and then put me in contact with the publishers. They cleared it for me. I was able to use the likeness of Mr. Troutman and Miss Murdoch as features, and that's a favorite for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I'm
People,
old
people
school,
love
man.
that
So I
song.
saw it. I was like, yeah, that's dope. That's dope.
Yeah, people love Chocolate City, man.
That
That's a
is
favorite to play. I enjoy playing that song.
right, right. Because you're doing your own tour, your own shows as well as touring with Boney when you get a chance to, right?
Yes, 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 I am. And
Very cool.
anybody watching who would like to book me, please do.
Yes, sir. Yes, please book this man. He is not gonna
Please,
trust me. He ain't gonna disappoint you at all. Believe
I'm
that.
not. My band and I are ready. And as great as the album sounds, the live show is just even better. So come get the modern classic experience. You won't
Yes,
regret it.
sir. Thanks so much for being on. All right.
Yes, sir, man.